Hi, everyone. Um, my name is Stephen Olson, and I'm a mentor with SCORE. And I'm anxious to learn more about our topic today. I've heard this before, and I thought it was very useful. And Jessica is going to talk about winning customers with your website. But first, I'd like to say just a few words about the organization I volunteer with. SCORE is the nation's largest network of volunteer expert business mentors. We are dedicated to helping small businesses get off the ground, grow, and achieve their goals. And since 1964, we have provided education and mentorship to more than 11 million entrepreneurs. SCORE is a 501c3 nonprofit organization and a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration, the SBA. And thanks to this generous support from the SBA, plus the selfless contributions of our more than 10,000 volunteers nationwide, we can deliver our offerings at no cost. And we have over 100 volunteers to help you in Chester and Delaware counties. We provide this help through mentoring, webinars like this one, and courses on demand, a library of online resources, plus we are finally doing live and in-person events again. For this webinar, we do have some rules of the road. First, this presentation is being recorded and will be made available to you after the presentation today within a day or two. If you've been placed on mute to avoid any distractions, it's not because we don't like you. And you can please put any questions in the Q&A box and we'll respond to those through the session. And any comments you have or other references, please feel free to put those in the chat box as well. And now I'd like to introduce our speaker. We are so pleased to have Jessica Baldwin with us today. Jessica is the co-founder of CardSetter, an easy-to-use website platform with custom design and setup included. Jessica has been helping small businesses launch successful websites for over 8 years. She's also spent more than 10 years growing her own successful blog and entertainment website for Billings, Montana, billings365.com. But Jessica has been on both sides of website development, as the client and then later as a development company, giving her a robust understanding of the entire process. And with that, Jessica, I'll turn these folks over to you.
Right. I'm going to get my slides up here. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica, and I want to welcome you to today's webinar. We're going to talk about how to win customers with your website. So here's what we'll be covering today. We're going to go through some common website misconceptions. Working through these is going to help you have a better mindset when it comes to your website and its performance. We'll discuss the important role your website plays in your online marketing strategy. We're going to provide you with a framework to help you develop your own winning strategy. And we're going to walk through a few relevant examples, and then we'll discuss how to set your website up to help execute your strategy. I'm your host today, and I have a lot of experience in the website space. In 2009, I launched a small online business. It was called billings365.com. It was a website for events and things to do in the small city of Billings, Montana. And then later, I got involved. I became a partner in a website design agency where we actually did custom WordPress websites for small businesses. And through both of those experiences, I learned a lot about the needs of website owners, both from, running a business and from a website, and then later serving others in that website development role. So in 2016, my co-founder Josh and I decided to build our own website platform, and that is CardSetter. So my whole world has really been websites and online marketing for over 12 years now. So I do have a workbook that complements this webinar. You do not need to have the workbook or fill it out as we're going through the webinar. That would not be helpful. But I am going to drop the link in the chat so you can download it and you can work on your workbook whenever it is convenient for you, when you have some time to dig in and, digest everything we talk about here today, and then make it into a plan within that workbook. So first of all, I want to dive into some common misconceptions about websites and their efficacy. So the first one, I get all of my customers through word of mouth, none from my website. You'll hear business owners hail the ever elusive word of mouth as a primary source of bringing in customers. But this misconception underestimates the actions people are going to take prior to becoming your customer. So even if people hear about your business from a friend or acquaintance, they're likely to visit your website to get more information before contacting you or before coming into your business. So it's still important to make a good impression with a professional website. You can all probably relate to that yourself, right? Like if a friend recommends a dentist, for example, you're still going to go visit the website of that dentist before making an appointment. Most likely you're going to, check them out, check out their background, see what their hours are, things like that. So you still want to make a good impression with a professional website. My site isn't at the top of Google search results, and that's why I don't have more sales. So again, business owners will, obsess over ranking at the top of Google for certain keywords, and it's definitely a goal worth striving for. But it's, being on page one of Google is not going to be the answer to all of your problems. Search engine optimization, or SEO, is one channel out of many different options to generate traffic to your website. But it's not going to be responsible for what happens after that, right? So once you get people to your website through SEO or other channels, your website has to engage them to stick around, has to educate them about what you do, and it has to convert people to leads and sales. Now, even if you start ranking at the top of Google or other search engines, your website is unlikely to gain a customer when they visited your website once. At that point, the person is just becoming aware of your business, right? They did a quick search, they hit your website, they're like, mildly interested, perhaps. But you're going to need to get your brand in front of your audience again and again, which is why you can't rely on just one marketing channel like SEO. It's unlikely for people to make that search, hit your website once and be like, yep, this is exactly what I need. I'm signing up today. That's not to say that that doesn't happen on occasion, but it's not the norm. So you have to have a plan that's going to get your brand in front of that person multiple times until they're ready to convert. I have a Facebook page, Instagram account, TikTok. I don't really need a website, or I don't prioritize my website. So it's true that having a following on social media is a great way to get in front of your audience on a regular basis, but you still need a website. A website is where you have control over how your brand is presented. You need it for any online advertising you're going to do. It helps facilitate online transactions and lead generation, and it ensures that your business looks professional. It's a place on the internet that you control rather than the algorithms. So on social media, you're really at the mercy of Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Twitter or Pinterest or LinkedIn's priorities. And they can change their algorithm, and in a second, your marketing channel no longer reaches your audience. This happened to lots and lots of business owners who invested a lot of time into their Facebook pages years and years ago. They thought, I don't really need a website. I just need a Facebook page. They would gain a following and then everyone saw their posts. Well, Facebook changed that all of a sudden, right? And suddenly your Facebook posts were no longer even reaching the people following you. So people who went all in on a Facebook page without establishing a web presence were then, left behind and left in this place where they were no longer reaching their primary, marketing audience on a regular basis. So it's important to build traffic to your website and get email addresses or phone numbers into your database to kind of safeguard your business from those ever-changing social media algorithms. Excuse me. And the last one, my website is simply ineffective. It doesn't bring any customers. So this may or may not be true. Your website design, the layout, the text on the site could be ineffective for a variety of reasons, but the problem might be that you're actually not getting enough traffic to your website, or that you don't have enough marketing activities producing, that repetition, getting people there multiple times to get them to act. So if you think about your own behavior, how often do you see an ad for a product or service, visit the website and decide to purchase right then and there? It doesn't happen that often, right? Unless, you've been on the hunt for something specific and you finally see an ad for it, you finally hit a website for it, and you're like, I better buy this right away. But that's very rare. And your website visitors are the same. They are unlikely to visit the website once and act immediately. So you have to find a way to bring them into your world and then be in front of them when they are ready to take action. So we need to stop thinking of the website on its own as this single thing that does or doesn't work. Your website plays an integral role in your overall marketing. It's not going to be effective in a vacuum. So you need to get it out of your mind that I'm going to create a website, I'm going to put it online, and that's all I have to do. You need an online marketing strategy that's going to support the website for it to actually get you customers. So now that we've gone through some of those common misconceptions, let's talk about your website's role in marketing your business online. So your website plays an important role for the following reasons: establishing your brand. Your website is your home on the internet where you can express your brand voice and control the experience for your visitors. It's where you get to set the tone and say, this is, who my business is, or this is who I am and how I can help you. Professionalism, your business looks more legitimate when you have a professional website. And professionalism goes a long way in building trust with your audience. So they're more likely to, work with you. So for example, maybe you got a couple recommendations for a dentist from a couple different friends, and you go check out their websites, and one looks really nice, really professional. It has easy online booking for your first appointment. You don't have to call. You go to the other website and it looks a little outdated, a little janky. You don't feel real confident about setting that initial appointment. Which one are you going to go with? The one that looks more professional, right? Websites have compounding results. So investing in the success of your website through ongoing improvements and by adding new content has compounding lasting effects. Over time, you'll see more traffic build and grow. Adding value. Your website provides an opportunity where you can add value for your target audience. It's a place where you can provide useful information and resources for them. It's an essential marketing tool. So whether you're offering a product, a service, or information, you need a place for people to land, gather more info, and for them to convert. Getting found. Websites rank far better than a Facebook page or any other social media page for your keywords. And search is going to help you reach people who are actively searching for your product or service. Whereas, your social media exposure with people is a bit more passive. Engagement. Your website is where people can spend time with your content. They can dig in and really discover more and deepen their engagement with your brand. Measurement. You can evaluate how your marketing is performing by reviewing your website's analytics. So, if you're doing some marketing, you're trying to push traffic to your website, you can actually see how that marketing is performing by looking at your website's analytics. Generating leads. As you continue to market your business, you want to grow a database of potential customers. And you can do that on your website by creating content that people can, enter their email address to get. And then lastly, facilitating sales and transactions. We want to convert visitors and followers into customers. If you want someone to buy a product or sign up for your service, you need a way to facilitate that transaction, and your website is the place to do this. But now, how do you set your website up to succeed? Well, there's a lot of advice out there. And you might have even signed up for this webinar thinking this was the type of advice you would get about website design and layout. So you might get advice about making sure your website is laid out in a left to right reading pattern, choosing the right colors, making sure the call to action button is in the right place. And this type of information is helpful in designing a professional website, and sometimes these little tweaks can improve the performance of your website, but sometimes we place way too much weight on this type of advice. And these tips aren't going to be a magical solution to winning customers if you don't have other important marketing pieces in place. And so what I see happen with website owners is they'll put their website up online and then they'll kind of obsess over these little design tweaks. Well, maybe if I just change this headline, or I update this photo, or I move the button in this place, then I'll start getting customers from my website. And again, more often than not, the lack of website performance, the lack of leads, the lack of sales, time and time again, I see the problem with being not having a marketing plan supporting the website, not having a strategy to get traffic to the website, to get people back to the website, to engage with the audience over time. So winning customers with your website is not magic. It rarely is going to come down to a button placement or the right image. I wish it were that simple. It takes a lot of trial and error. Figuring out what works is going to take some time. But once you come up with a strategy that works, it can have amazing results. So you have to come up with a strategy for your business, and there's no one size fits all template for this. So we're going to provide a framework that's going to help you customize your own strategy. And we have two important steps that you need to complete before getting to work on your website. And that is going to be to define the ideal customer and really map out that customer journey. So in nearly every webinar that I present, I talk about defining your ideal customer because I believe it is the most critical initial step to getting your website right. And, your marketing, everything to do with your marketing has to come down to who your ideal customer is. So to help me with this exercise, I like to use a simple fill in the blank statement. It says, as a type of person, I want some goal so that some reason. So you would fill that out from the perspective of your ideal customer, as it relates to your business. So here's how one health coach might think about their ideal customer. As a busy working parent, I find it challenging to find time for fitness, but I want to feel fit and healthy so that I have more energy to play with my kids after work. From there, you can layer on additional information. So how old is this person? What is their career or educational background? What are their interests? What kind of media do they consume? Where do they hang out online? So identifying your ideal customer is going to help you create a strategy in a way that is going to resonate with your potential customers. A lot of times when we're thinking about our website or we're thinking about what we want to put online about our business, it's really easy to come from your own perspective because you spent a lot of time planning your business, right? So it's like, this is what I want to say. This is what I want my brand to look like. This is how I want to be portrayed online. But really, your website and your marketing is all about your ideal customer. So instead of thinking about what you like, you want to think about what your ideal customer would respond to, right? What type of image would they like? What kind of copy is going to resonate with them? So we really want to dig in on who this person is that we're trying to attract to our business. After that, you want to think through that customer journey. So your customer is going to go through different phases in their experience with your brand. And this is an area that's often overlooked by the business owner. Again, we think, well, I put my website up, I'm going to run maybe a Facebook ad and see what happens. You run the Facebook ad, you get some traffic, but nobody signed up. Well, again, to reiterate, it's going to be rare for someone to see that one ad, hit your website one time, buy something instantly. That's not to say that it never happens, but it definitely should not be your expectation in your business. Instead, we have to nurture our audience along and provide information and messaging that meets them at the stage they are at. So, these are kind of the traditional stages of the marketing funnel. At the awareness stage, we want to get our brand in front of our ideal audience, and we want them to know that we exist and that we can fulfill a need or solve a problem for them. So at this stage, we're really just bringing people into our audience. We're making a chunk of people aware of our business. Then in the consideration stage, the person knows that they have a need or a problem. They're now aware of your brand and they're probably doing more research or trying to decide what's right for them, or they're kind of in a stage where they're sort of thinking about this thing that they might want, but they're not super motivated to move forward for any number of reasons. They might be, trying to justify spending the money. So they're deciding how or if they're going to move forward. Then at the conversion stage, they're ready to act and you want them to move forward with your brand. This is where they're going to take action to solve their problem. And then I like to add a little note here. I have a little note about retention. So once they've become a customer, how can you continue to meet their needs? Are they going to be a source of referrals for you, reviews, repeat purchases? And we don't want to spend too much time on that piece because we're going to focus on the stages up to conversion. But it is something I want you to think about. It is something that should be in your planning and your thought process when you're thinking about how you're going to serve customers and potentially tap them for referrals or repeat business. So your outreach, the messaging, and how you deliver the message are going to be crafted to each of these stages. And this will all make much more sense when we go through some examples. But at each stage, what is the message that needs to be communicated to your prospect, and how will you deliver that message to them? So, at the awareness stage, what type of content could you use to get your ideal customer's attention? What type of information do they need in the consideration stage to help them understand your product or service? What is going to motivate them to take action and convert? So at the awareness stage, you might create, blog content that's going to appeal to your ideal customer and try to generate traffic to that content. And then maybe you're going to have a newsletter or free resource they can sign up for. Um, they might go into an email sequence where you can get your brand in front of them on a regular basis. So you're nurturing them along throughout that consideration stage. Then after some time, hopefully you have a bunch of people who've been in that consideration stage for some time and are ready to convert. So maybe you're going to run a special offer or an ad with the intent of getting them to sign up or purchase, today or in the near term. So you want to stay engaged with your prospect through all of these stages. And you should expect people to spend time within each stage before moving to the next. And different people are going to move from one stage to the next at different speeds. And this can all depend on the type of business you have as well, right? If you have a several $1,000 coaching program, people are probably going to spend more time going from awareness to conversion, right? It's a larger purchase. They're going to think about it longer. Whereas if you're selling cute socks online, that might be something where, they become aware and make the purchase within a day. So it can be completely dependent on the individual as well as the type of, product or service you're selling. The other thing to note is people will drop out of each stage. So you're going to have some people that make it through the entire funnel. You're going to have some people who become aware of your brand, but determine early on that they're not interested, that what you have is not appealing to them. And, none of us sell something that absolutely everyone on the planet is going to buy. So you're going to have people who are going to drop out of that awareness stage and never make it to consideration. You're going to have people in the consideration stage who ultimately decide not to purchase, or they purchase a competitor's product. And then you're going to have some that convert. So you're going to, bring people through this funnel, but not everyone is going to, land in a conversion. So let's look at some examples for this. So Penelope's Plant Place is our make-believe business. It's a small nursery located in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And Penelope doesn't have a landscaping crew. She really caters to the do-it-yourselfer. So she sells plants and accessories from her physical location. And she also offers professional design services so that customers who want help making a landscaping plan can get it. She knows that those consulting services can increase her plant sales. So Penelope's ideal customer is the avid do-it-yourselfer, and she knows that new homeowners often fall into this category. So she might fill in her ideal customer statement like this. As a new homeowner on a budget, I want to add plants to my home so that it reflects my personal style and is a warm and inviting place to be, but I don't know much about plants or landscape design. So then on her website, she's going to try to appeal to that ideal customer, right? So she's going to have a heading that kind of appeals back to that statement that she's come up with for her ideal customer. So it says, personalize your space, visit Penelope's Plant Place. And then she has some support text there that says, we're here to help you DIY your dream space. Personalize the interior and exterior of your home with plants that will survive, thrive, and look great too. So now what are some of the ways that Penelope can use her website to attract and nurture that ideal customer? So if we first think about that awareness stage, Penelope wants to make her ideal customer aware of her business. So if she thinks about what this person might be doing before they're going to take action to spruce up their home, they're probably going to do some research, right? So maybe they're looking for plants that are going to thrive in their area's climate. So Penelope is going to create a comprehensive guide on her website featuring articles about plants that thrive in Colorado Springs. And she's going to focus that guide on plants that she carries in her store. Now, if someone is reading this type of information on her website, then they're probably a good prospect to be in the market to buy plants, right? But they might not be ready to buy right now. Again, they're just kind of in that research stage looking for plants that will even live where they live. So Penelope wants to try to keep those people in her audience in the meantime. So she's going to add a lead capture or a lead magnet sign up on those articles. So she has come up with a do-it-yourself landscaping guide that includes different layouts and plant recommendations. Of course, she probably carries those plants at her store again. So she's going to add that sign-up form for the guide on the pages to each of those articles. Then with email addresses in her database, she can send periodic newsletters to her prospects to stay top of mind. She could also run retargeting ads on Facebook, Instagram, or Pinterest to keep that audience engaged with her brand. So they start seeing her, in their email inbox. They also start seeing ads for Penelope's Plant Place as they're scrolling on social media. Those ads and newsletter issues are going to link back to more website content. And she's fostering that connection with her audience throughout the consideration phase. She could also start incorporating more sales-oriented content at this point, right? So she could highlight before and after customer stories with photos that are going to showcase her work. She could start highlighting the benefit of getting design help to ensure a smoother do-it-yourself project. So Penelope is now attracting people to her website with good quality content. She's keeping them engaged by continuing to offer quality information about plants. But now, how does she get these people to become customers? Well, because she is top of mind with her audience, she might get some natural conversions, right? People who've seen her ads, they've been to her website, they've gotten her emails. They might be like, oh, it's going to be a nice Saturday. Let's go to that plant store that I keep getting the emails from and do some yard work this weekend. But she could also incentivize some of these first-time customers to act, right? So Penelope comes up with an offer that she's going to present to her warmest audience members, or maybe those who've opened and clicked on most emails. So Penelope decides to offer free 30-minute consultations plus a 20% off coupon for those who book one of those consultations. She knows when her customers get a little design help, they're happier with the end result and they're better prepared to care for their plants. She also knows that they're going to buy more plants when given the confidence they need to succeed in the process. And customers can simply book their free consultation by going back to her website and choosing a time. So now Penelope is actively utilizing her website to nurture her audience through all stages of the journey, right? She's attracting them with quality content. She's keeping them engaged by retargeting them through email and online ads to bring them back to her website as she nurtures them along. And she's providing incentive to empower people to act and convert. Now, as you can imagine, Penelope's specific tactics may or may not work for your business because you have a completely different business than hers. So let's look at another example for a business that relies more so on direct sales. So Tim offers consulting services to universities and large organizations to make their campuses more energy efficient. So he saves them money while also reducing their climate impact. So Tim has a really specific decision maker that he needs to reach. And for him, it's more efficient to find out who that person is and reach out by email or phone to make them aware of his business, to get in front of them. So Tim still wants to have a quality website, but in this scenario, it's less likely that people are finding him through online search or social media, and more likely that they're visiting his website after he has reached out to them. So he'd want to focus on presenting a professional website. He might have something like a white paper or case study or a calculator explaining, how much money universities can save with his help or how much of an impact they could have on their carbon footprint. His strategy is going to look more like, reaching out multiple times by email, trying to get those prospects to take a first look at his website to get more information. Then at the consideration stage, he's, probably following up by email. He might provide a link to the white paper, trying to bring people back to the website to get that download. And he's continuing to engage through follow-up emails, but he's using his website to help support that strategy. And then to get people to convert, he probably wants to book a phone call or an online meeting. So he's going to have a book a consultation option again on his website. So his strategy is very email focused, but his website is helping support the strategy by giving him a professional appearance, by housing important content that he is pointing his prospects to, and by enabling the conversion event of that booked meeting. So to develop your own strategy, you need to go back to thinking about your ideal customer and what are their needs. Then how can you attract them to your business at the beginning of their journey, at that awareness stage? How can you engage them while they're in that consideration stage? How can you motivate them to act at the conversion stage? And then once they are customers, how can you retain them or keep them coming back? If you're doing any kind of a subscription-based business, retention is really important. You want to keep people subscribing, right? And if you have more of one-time purchases, you might want to get those folks to come back. And if you provide a service where it's kind of like the service is done once you've completed it, those people can be potential points of referrals for new customers. So you want to ask yourself these questions and then decide what message you're going to deliver at each stage and how you're going to deliver it to your prospects. Again, there's no one size fits all strategy here, which is why I can't tell you exactly what to do at each stage without knowing each of your businesses in detail. But hopefully this framework will help you come up with the specifics for your business or get you thinking about um, creating marketing actions that appeal to each of these stages and how your website can play into that marketing. So once you've come up with that strategy, you need to configure your website to do its part. So you're going to need some essential tools to help you carry out that strategy. The first is, a professional and compelling website. Your website has to be set up to meet the needs of your ideal customer at each of those stages. So we're going to get into some tools that you can use within your strategy. But first, we just need a good base, right? So your website has to adequately communicate what your business offers and why it matters to your ideal customer. So how can your website meet the needs of your ideal customer? You're going to need a quality homepage that appeals to that ideal customer. So you want to focus on capturing your prospects' attention when they hit your homepage. So in the top section, I like to focus on a headline that pulls in my key benefit statement. So, why is my business the best choice for my ideal customer? And then I might include some support text that's going to help back up that key benefit. And then I'm going to include the primary call to action. Or, what's the first step people take to becoming your customer? Now, people, as we've mentioned, aren't instantly going to convert at this point, but we want to get them interested enough to continue scrolling or to go a bit deeper into the website. And then the call to action is extremely useful for people when they come back to your website when they have decided to take action. So it's a good idea to just, set the tone early. When you're ready to purchase or become a customer, this is the action you need to take, right? So we're trying to tell them what to do when they decide to take action. But what else does your prospect need to consume in their journey to becoming a customer? That's going to be specific for every business. They might need to see an overview of your services or programs. They might need to better understand how your service works. They might need to consume case studies on how you've helped others in the industry. They might want to read a bunch of reviews. They might want to see your pricing. So consider what pieces of information are going to be essential in this process, and then make sure that your website has a good base of content for your prospect as they travel through each stage of that customer journey. For those of you who don't have a website yet, we do have another workbook that can be helpful, and I'll grab the link to that as well. Um, it's just a website planning workbook, so you can think through the different pages and sections that your website needs, and make a plan for that as well. But going beyond these essentials, we're going to need some other tools that are going to help us do its part within that customer journey. So the first is content management. So there are plenty of things that you can do to raise awareness of your business. That includes, social media posts, advertising, sponsorships, and more. But when it comes to your website, one of the most powerful things you can do for awareness is have relevant content on your website. So of course your website, like you have content for all the primary pages, your home page, your services page, about page, contact page. That all needs content, right? But here I'm talking about producing content to attract your target audience to your site. So more often than not, what I'm talking about is having blog posts or articles on the site, different resources. You might prefer making videos, so you could feature video content on your website, infographics, whatever makes sense for your business to bring that target customer to your site. Content helps with your SEO, so your search engine optimization. The more content you have on your website, the more opportunities you have to show up in a Google search or, on other social media. It gives people a reason to visit your website and return. If they find one piece of valuable information, they may come back to you for more information within your niche. It provides content that you can use to post on social media and include in your email newsletter and more. So it's a good idea to come up with some content for your website to appeal to your ideal audience. And you want to set your website up to make the best use of that content. Now, you'll often see companies plop a blog on their website, and more often than not, the last post was made years ago, and we don't want to do that. So, part of the problem with this particular approach is that it sort of relies on a continuous flow of timely content, and most small businesses can't keep up with that. So, I take a little bit different approach. I like to come up with what I call content collections. So think about topics that your audience is going to be interested in. How could you create long-standing resources around those topics? You can create a collection of maybe 3 to 5 articles to go together and assemble them into a guide on your website. So in our earlier example, Penelope was going to have the ultimate guide to plants that thrive in Colorado Springs, and all of those articles are going to live on the same page of her website. This way, she's creating a compelling resource for her audience and engaging them to stay on the website longer because they can dive into all these different articles, right? If they read one post on a plant that's going to do well and they see that there's others, they are going to dig in on those other pieces of content as well. And this content is going to be relevant for years and years to come. So it's not going to get outdated as quickly when you try to have like a relevant topic and try to post a blog post every week. So instead of trying to, post once a week, I like to chip away at these in-depth guides, get all of the pieces in place that I want for that guide, and then once I've done that, I might start on the next one. So it allows you to take your content in more of a project format. So, you can kind of batch your content, do a bunch of it, get the guide done, and use it. And then, maybe months later, you can take on the next one instead of feeling like you have to constantly come up with a topic to blog about this week, which more often than not just doesn't happen because the business owner gets busy with other pieces of their business. So, a few other tools your website is going to need to help you implement your strategy. Customizable forms. So, whether you're offering a lead capture, you're registering people for a webinar, running a contest, offering a discount, you need a form that can accept those submissions. Some website builders are going to have forms in them, but they can be limiting. It kind of depends, on the platform you're on. But there are several third-party options that may have more features and flexibility for you. A couple that I like are Cognito Forms and Jotform. Both of those have pretty generous free plans to start with, and you can customize those forms for any number of purposes on your site. The next one is an e-newsletter integration. So you want to follow up with people who provide their emails to you. So you're going to need e-newsletter software to do that, right? Something that's going to send out your content and marketing emails to your subscribers. So that could be something like MailChimp or ConvertKit or Constant Contact. There's, hundreds of options to choose from. Some of those email platforms, in fact, most of them, do provide sign-up forms that you can use on your website. So you can have your newsletter subscription, or like I talked about, the lead capture form. You can produce that form in your MailChimp account and then add the form to your site. So you can integrate those two services together. That way, when someone subscribes, they land in the list in your MailChimp account, and you can, automate your messages that are going to go to them after they subscribe. Now, follow-up is really important during that engagement and consideration stage. So, you want to have the sign-up form on your website, but then you also want to plan to, send them an email on a regular basis. So you want to make sure you have a content plan for your e-newsletter as well. Chat. You can communicate with customers as they have questions while they're on your website. I'm sure you've all been to a website these days that has the little chat bubble in the side where you can ask a question. You can do that on your website as well. A free option that I really like is actually Facebook Messenger. So if you have a Facebook page, you can sign up for a business messenger account, and you can install the little chat bubble on your site. People don't have to have a Facebook account to inquire through that. But what's nice about that is if you have Facebook Messenger installed on your phone, you can respond to those inquiries right away, even if you're not, sitting at your computer. Landing pages. So a landing page is really just a single promotional page that you may want to use to promote your lead capture resource, promote a sign up for your webinar, or any other number of things. And as you roll out various marketing programming, you may need, nice landing pages to help with that promotion, to explain the details of a sale, or explain all the benefits of attending your webinar, etc. So you want to make sure you can easily create these landing pages on your website. And you can use those, as links in your newsletter to promote these things, or run ads to those pages, and more. Appointment scheduling. So this can be really useful for service-based businesses, consultants, professionals. You can let prospects book a consultation or a demo from your website. And you can use tools like Calendly is a popular option for this. And Google actually has rolled out its own appointment booking as well. So if you're going to use Gmail, like a professional Gmail email address, you can get that appointment booking through Google as well. E-commerce and payments. If you're selling physical or digital products on your website, you need a way to facilitate those transactions. There are many different ways to accomplish this depending on your specific needs. If someone's going to be adding multiple things to a cart before checking out, then you need e-commerce with a shopping cart feature. But if you're accepting payments for a webinar or a course, or you're selling an ebook, you can actually configure one of those customizable forms with a payment processor, so people can just fill out their information and you can take payment. So that's another way to facilitate transactions that don't require a shopping cart. Payment processor. If you're going to be taking payments on your website of any kind, you need a payment processor to process credit cards. I'm a big fan of Stripe for this, but there are many other options. If you use, Shopify or Square, of course, they have their own payment processors, so you don't need a separate one. But Stripe works with a lot of different online tools, which is why it's the one I recommend most often. Analytics, measuring your website activity is going to be essential. You need to know how your efforts are paying off. So you want to install Google Analytics on your website, and that's going to help you see what pages and content are performing on your site. You can see how many people are visiting your pricing page or your other sales intent pages. You can see if they're visiting from mobile devices or desktop. You can see how many people are coming to your site from Facebook or other channels. So you can get a lot of information to understand how your marketing is performing. And then lastly, pixels. So Pixel is just a snippet of code that gets installed on your website. And if you plan on doing any advertising on Facebook or Instagram or Google or Pinterest or any of those sites, those ad accounts will provide you with a pixel that needs to go on your website. And what that does is sends information back to your ad account so that your campaigns can be optimized. So it will let the ad account know that this person clicked through to the site, and then your campaign can optimize for more people like that person that clicked through to your site. So the important thing to know here is that you want to have those pixels installed sooner rather than later. If you think at any point in the future, you may start advertising on one of those services, because it can't track prior to its installation. So if you wanted to retarget people who have visited your website in the past 6 months on Instagram, for example, you would need to have that pixel installed for 6 months, right? So it's just important to think about any of those ad services you might use and get those pixels on your site. And the ad platform that you are thinking about using will have directions on how to install that on your site. So if you already have a website, make sure you're taking advantage of these features. And if you don't have a website, look at the different platforms and make sure you're finding ways to implement these things if they are important features for your strategy that you come up with. Okay, so to summarize, the way that you are going to get customers to your website is to really think about your ideal customer, understand who you're trying to communicate with and what their needs are. You're going to map out the customer journey. How can you attract that ideal customer to your website at the awareness stage? How can you engage with them and educate them about your products and services during the consideration stage? How can you compel them to convert at the conversion stage? And then you're going to set your website up to do its part. So you're going to set it up to help execute that strategy. So you're going to give it a good base with a compelling homepage. You're going to include relevant information that's going to help your prospects learn how you can help them. You're going to create relevant content for that ideal customer, and you're going to utilize the different features and tools that are going to help you accomplish your goals. I know that that's a lot to cover in just under an hour. I hope the info we've provided here is going to help you think about how your website can help you win over your customers. It definitely takes some trial and error to get everything set up and working together. Remember, it's an iterative process, so you're going to take simple steps to make improvements at each stage over time. Monitor your results and then see where you can make improvements. And with that, we will open it up for questions.
Anne had a question, Jessica. She was asking, can you discuss a CMS at some point today? What exactly is a content management system?
Yeah, so a content management system is really just a piece of software that allows you to produce content and serve it up online. So most website builders have some form of a content management system or CMS within them. WordPress, CardSetter, with, if you can blog and write articles, there's generally a content management system component to your website platform. So it's really just a technical term that refers to the way that the content is handled within the website.
Okay. Well, we don't have any other questions right now. So with that, then, oh, wait just a minute. Another question from Ann. And what is the relationship to business email and website host?
Yeah, so there actually is not really a relationship. So your website hosting and your email hosting are actually separate services, although sometimes you can get both services from the same provider. So a lot of times, people will bundle different services and sell them in a bundle, and they'll say email and website hosting included. But technically, your business email and your website hosting can be at separate services. So like, for instance, we often recommend to our customers to go set up their domain through Google Domains, which then makes it easy to set up professional email through Google as well. So you have your domain registered at Google, and then you have your email hosted at Google at a professional email address that is associated with that domain that you've registered. And then your website is actually completely separate. It's tied to your domain. So your domain points to your website, but your website can be hosted with whatever website builder you go with or whatever website host or provider you go with.
Yeah, thank you. I do have one client that has an issue because he had a website provider that included his email, and he's wanting to change providers, and now he's got an issue in transitioning the email to another site. So it's
Yeah, you actually give yourself a lot more flexibility if you don't entangle your email with your website provider. And it's really easy to set up these days with Google, with Gmail, professional Gmail services for your business, or if you prefer Microsoft products, there's, Office or Outlook 365. I'm not sure what they call theirs these days, but Microsoft has its own version of, online email that you can sign up for as well.
great. Well, with that, I'm going to share a couple more slides, and I am going to post a poll for people to give us some feedback on the presentation today, how it was helpful, anything we can do to improve. And so if you just take just a few seconds to kind of look through these, I think there are 9 questions, and click a box, that would be great. And thank you so much again, Jessica. I think that's very valuable information, and it's presented in a very proper way. Thank you. I want
Thank
to
you.
let people, you're very welcome. People here know that we are certainly ready to help in any way we can at SCORE with mentors or the other services we had. So here's a link to a way to directly look at the mentors that are in this area. And the last slide I have has some information about where we're located and how to contact us. And so I hope you all are